Hey everyone, hope everybody are doing well. I am back with one of the most requested chapter, that is tissues. Okay, yes. So this is a very simple and interesting chapter, guys. It is not at all a boring chapter. Okay, but to understand this chapter, you must know the basics of the previous chapter, that is the cell. So that was the longest chapter. We studied so many things. Okay, so that is the foundation and basic to understand this chapter. Check whether you are okay with that chapter or not. If you have not yet watched the videos of cell chapter, the link is provided in the description. Please check it out. Okay, and one more thing you all are supposed to do. What is that? Check whether you have liked the video or not. Just hit a like button, okay? And also share these videos to all of your friends. Let everybody get benefit out of it, okay? And now let me first tell you what is there in a tissues chapter. Say we have to study two major things in a chapter. Tissues that are present in plants and tissues which are present in animals. This video I am covering every single aspect that is related to tissues which are present in plants. Okay, so all plant tissues let us try to discuss in a very detailed way, in a very interesting way. In the next video, that is in the part 2 videos of tissue, you will find all the concepts relating to animal tissue. Okay, so now coming to the topic, what exactly we mean by tissue here? Okay, so how do you define the term tissue? In the previous chapter, we have seen what exactly we mean by a cell. Okay, cell is the structural and functional unit of any living organism, right? And now, so many cells, if they are grouping together, okay, then that is called as a tissue. Okay, so group of cells is called tissues, and all these cells are similar. Okay, so they are similar in structure. So we actually have different kinds of cells, isn't it? So skin cells are different, brain cells are different, nerve cells are different, their function is different, the type of work that they do is different, and the way they look is different. I mean, their structure is different, everything is different. Okay, so here tissue means group of similar type of cells. So let me write it this way: group of similar cells. Similar cells is what we mean by tissue. Can you imagine one single cell can do all the work? No, right? So group of cells team together, they combine with each other, and as a group they perform a particular function in our body. Okay, so this is very, very important, right? Single cell cannot do anything. Group of similar kind of cells itself will team together and they do a particular work in a most efficient way, in a better way. Okay, so that is why studying of tissues, study of group of cells is more important. Okay, right? Rather than understanding about the single cell. About the single cell, okay, we have understood, we know how does it look like, but single cell itself cannot do a big works. Okay, so it's always a group of same type of cells who would be performing a particular work inside a body. It can be in plant or it can be in animals. Okay, and now, right, look at this particular picture, guys. This is very, very important. Cell to organism. Okay, say single cell is there, we have studied its structure, but single cell itself cannot do anything, just now I told. So it's always similar cells always work together. Okay, so same kind of cells is what we mean by tissue. Now different tissues, so very important, different tissues combine together to form a particular organ. So look at here, kidney is an organ. So inside kidney, okay, you can have different kinds of tissues, right? So now different organs, sorry, this is not a kidney, this is a stomach. Okay, right? So this is a stomach. Stomach itself can have different kinds of tissues here, right? So now different organs, stomach, liver, small intestine, big intestine, different organs together perform a big work inside a body, and that itself is called as a organ system. Digestive system performs what work? Digestion. Respiratory system performs respiration. Okay, like that different organs team up together to perform a particular greater task inside a body, and the team of different organs itself is called as a organ system. Now different organ systems perform different major works, and that's how the life is actually proceeding further. Okay, so that is responsible for the well-being of our body. It can be in plants or in animals. Okay, so now you must have understood, right? So there are different tissues also, but each and every tissue is made up of same type of cells. Say you have muscle tissue. Look at here, inside a muscle tissue, all muscle cells are looking in a similar way. Okay, so they are spindle shaped cells. So all cells inside the muscle tissue, they look similar. Okay, see, nervous tissue is a brain cell. Okay, so it's a group of brain cells. All brain cells look in a similar way. Okay, so this is a brain tissue, nervous tissue, and this is a muscle tissue. Okay, so if you look at a specific tissue, all cells will look similar. Okay, likewise we have different tissues. So why should we have a different tissues? My next question for all of you is, why should we have different tissue? Okay, why single tissue, can't it perform all the functions? No, it cannot perform. Okay, for different works inside a body, we need different tissues. Okay, so what was the question I asked you? Why should we have different tissue? Okay, so we should have different tissue to share the works. Okay, so what is the answer here? To share works. Okay, which we will call it as division of labor. Okay, understand the meaning of this word called division of labor. Okay, what do you mean by division of labor? Different tissue. Okay, so very important, note it down this point in your book. Different tissues perform different works. Perform different works. Okay, very, very important. Why should different tissues perform different work? Why can't a single tissue perform all kinds of work? Can't do it. Just one example I'm giving you. Suppose your school has organized a school day. Okay, can one teacher or one student organize the entire school day? Never, right? So what does the management or principal do? They will make groups first. Okay, say for example in your school, if you have 50 teachers, the principal would make a group of 5 teachers. So the principal would allot every work, each and every work to these groups, isn't it? Say group number 1, group of 5 teachers and the group of 20 students. So team A, so this team A will look after the stage program or the stage arrangement. Group B, another a group of 5 teachers and 22 students, they will look after the food arrangements. Okay, the team 3 will look after the guest honoring, right? So definitely when different teams are made, each team is given a particular task, then the function can be conducted very easily and efficiently, right? Same thing here. One particular tissue cannot do digestion, it cannot perform respiration, it cannot perform circulation, thinking and all the things, right? So it becomes too much burden for that group of cells. So in our body, we should definitely have different tissues to perform different works. The works should get distributed among everybody. Just like during your school day, how your principal distributes all the work to different teachers, right? Similarly, usually the different works have to be distributed to the different tissues and the different organs. Okay, that is what we call division of labor. Work should get distributed to different things. Okay, so hope you understood the meaning of this word, division of labor. Okay, so now let us understand the difference between plant tissue and animal tissues. So there are different tissues in plants, different tissues in animals, but what is the major difference between the plant tissue and animal tissue? So guys, this is very important point to understand. In terms of movement, we all know plants do not move. They don't need to move. So they no need to have muscle tissue actually. But animals usually move. In terms of danger, we are supposed to run. Okay, we are supposed to walk, right? We are supposed to go from one place to another place. So all of this is a requirement. What we call it as a locomotion. Okay, movement is nothing but a locomotion. So locomotion is very important for animals. So we should have a special tissue for the movement here. What is that special tissue which helps for the movement? That is muscle tissue. But whereas the plants do not need any muscle tissue because they are fixed at one place, isn't it? So plants are fixed in one place and do not move, whereas animals cannot be fixed in one place where they are necessary to move from one place to another place. So the different tissues have to be present in case of plants and animals. Okay, so now in terms of support, you know, there should be a lot of support required for a plant body, isn't it? Because it has to withstand for heat, you know, light, rain and everything, wind and etc. And you know, a kind of support and rigidity, toughness is required for each and every cell that is present in a plant body. So the toughness related tissue is present in plant, whereas animals need not require rigidity. So that's the reason you don't find cell wall. So there is no cell wall here. Okay, right? But here cell wall is compulsory, right? So cell wall is what which gives that rigidity and toughness, whereas here, you know, you need more flexibility in fact in the animal body. So you don't find any cell wall. Right? So now in case of flexibility, you know, here cells are more rigid and help the plant stay firm and upright. Okay, so the plants need more strength to stay where they are. Okay, right? And they have to withstand so many environmental toughnesses, isn't it? So harsh environment, every kind of environment they have to face. So they need that kind of support, you know, firmness. So plants will have tissues which help in withstanding toughness. Okay, in withstanding harsh environments actually. But whereas the the animal body require more flexibility here. Okay, so we need to be more flexible, easily moving, isn't it? So we will have tissue which supports for more flexibility. Okay, and now coming to the nutrition, you know, plants will have tissues which should help in preparing their own food using sunlight. Okay, so the leaves will have a tissue, special tissues, you know, which actually should help to prepare their own food using what? Sunlight. Whereas the animals should have tissues which should help in digesting the food that we consume, isn't it? We no need to prepare our own food. We actually take food from other sources, right? So when we consume food, we need to have a special tissue that should involve in breaking that complex food into simple nutrients, which we will call it as digestion. Okay, so the tissues which are responsible for nutrition is very much different in plants as well as animals, depending on the needs and requirements. Okay, so now in case of transport, in case of plants, water has to be transported, food has to be transported, and this transportation of water and food will happen with a very tough tissues called xylem and phloem, which you will study later in the chapter. Okay, right? But here we need to have a very flexible transport system. So here blood is a transport system here, where the food or nutrients have to move from one place to another place, messages have to move from one place to another place, information have to move, and all of that. So here the transportation mechanism is different, and plants have a different transportation mechanism. So the tissues which are responsible for transport system in plants is very much different from the tissue which is responsible for transport system in animals. Okay, and now coming to the growth. So even growth requires a special kind of tissue. So you will find that in plants as well as in the animals also. So here for animal, growth means different. Okay, it can be it is related to so many chemicals inside the body and all of that. So the meaning of growth is entirely different for plant and animals. Okay, so that involves a different kind of tissues and different kinds of mechanisms actually. Okay, so these are the different points that you need to remember, how plant tissues are different from animal tissue. So why their tissues are different? Because the needs are different, requirements are different. So now let us talk about only plant tissues here. Okay, so plant tissues are majorly of two types. So there are two different types of plant tissue. Okay, so one is meristematic tissue which is responsible for growth. Okay, so this meristematic tissue is completely responsible for growth. Okay, right? So very important, remember the name meristematic tissue, which actually has got actively dividing cells. So tissue is nothing but group of cells, I said. So these cells will divide rapidly, quickly and more efficiently. You know, that kind of a tissue is our meristematic tissue. That's why I said this tissue is completely related to growth. And you have the other kind of tissue called the permanent tissues, and these permanent tissues actually perform different works inside the plant body. See, permanent tissue doesn't mean that it remain permanent, it will not die, it will remain permanent. No. Okay, permanent tissue means it will perform one particular function throughout its lifetime. Okay, so that's why we call it as a permanent tissue, performing some function, okay, again and again, right? So such tissues are called permanent tissues. So now again, meristematic tissue, there are three types of meristematic tissue: apical meristem, lateral meristem and intercalary meristem. We will discuss one by one later. And permanent tissue is again divided into two types, guys. Note it down, this flowchart, very important. You have simple permanent tissue, okay, and complex permanent tissue. Simple permanent tissue, again three major varieties: parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. Okay, complex permanent tissues are majorly two types: xylem, phloem. Xylem is helpful in carrying water and phloem is helpful in carrying food from one place of the plant body to another place. Okay, very important. So complex permanent tissues are xylem and phloem. Simple permanent tissues are parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Okay, so these two majorly comprises permanent tissue. And you also have another permanent tissue which actually protects the different parts of the plant, that is protective tissue. Okay, you can take the third one, that is protective tissue. Okay, protective tissue, simple permanent tissue, complex permanent tissue, actually three types. Okay, so simple permanent, again three types, complex permanent, again two types. So first we will try to understand what is this meristematic tissue, what are the three types of meristematic and what work they do, where do they exist. Okay, yes. So now coming to before I talk about apical meristem. Okay, so plant grows in three ways. Okay, so your plant always grow in three ways. Okay, what do you mean by growth in plant? So plant grows in three ways here. So plant has to grow in height. It should grow in height, isn't it? It should grow in girth. Girth in the sense what? Width. It should become fat. Okay, the stem should not remain thin. The stem should slowly, day by day, it should become fatter, isn't it? That's what we mean by girth, growing in width. Okay, and third one, in case if you cut a plant, it should regrow. Okay, it should regrow. It should regrow when cut. When cut. Okay, so these are the three situations where the growth is meant for plant, isn't it? So when you sow a little seed inside the soil, so we know that little seed will turn out into a little sapling, and this sapling, you know, the stem should become thicker gradually, and it should also grow in height, and as the days grows on, the stem becomes more and more thicker, and it should grow, and definitely it must grow in more height. Okay, even in between, if you cut a particular stem, from there it should start growing. Okay, so that is what the three ways of growth: in height, growth in girth, and regrowth in terms of cut, isn't it? Now for plants to grow in height, we need a kind of meristematic tissue called apical meristems. So apical meristems will do that work, guys. Okay, so now look at here. Apical meristems are responsible for growth in length. Okay, so it should grow in height, isn't it? So to grow in length, what kind of tissue is responsible in plant? That is apical meristem. And very important is, where is this apical meristem present? Definitely growing in height, in the sense the apical meristem must be present at the tip of the shoot. Yes, okay. So this apical meristem is present at the tip of the shoot and tip of the roots. Okay, look at the highlighted areas. Shoot tip I have highlighted, root tip I have highlighted. Okay, so where does this apical meristem present? Root tips and shoot tips. And what is the function of this apical meristem? The function is increase in length. Okay, so there is one activity that is mentioned in NCERT relating to this apical meristem. Let's discuss that. Very, very interesting. So look at this activity, guys. Okay, so they have taken two onions with their roots, and they have put it in the glass jars. Okay, so jar A and jar B, two jars are there. And what did they do to the roots of jar B? They have cut the tips of the roots. Actually, what kind of tissue is present at the tip of the roots? It is apical meristem. So now apical meristem is not there. So in this jar, there is no apical meristem. AM in the sense apical meristem. Okay, so 3 days both the onion roots have grown to the same extent, but the third day they have cut the apical meristem, and from then onwards the roots, you can see the roots here, they have stopped growing, isn't it? So that is what about this activity actually. And when you look at the graph, look at this graph, guys. So you must know how to read this graph here. Okay, so they plotted a graph of length of roots in centimeters. Definitely the roots have grown. Okay, so they have measured this is a root of jar A and this is a root of jar B. So root A, in jar A the root has grown to a bigger extent, whereas here it's very, very small in jar B. So they have plotted a graph of length of roots versus number of days. Okay, if you look at this blue color line, no, this is a root of jar A. So you have seen day 1, day 2 grown, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7, you know. So there is a gradual growth, isn't it, for the root that is present in a jar A. Why? Because the tips have got apical meristem and that led the further growth. Whereas we have cut on the third day, look at here, day 2 is fine, day 3 is fine, but somewhere till 3.5 days, you know, or 4 days, till 4th day the root has gone, but we have cut the apical meristem on the 4th day, and you know the growth has decreased, and later the growth remained constant, did not grow at all. If you look at the roots carefully, you would have observed here, see, the roots have not grown at all, but here it has gradually grown, isn't it? So that is about right? The apical meristem. So if apical meristem is not there, the growth in height will get stopped. It can be root height, or it can be a shoot height. For growing in height, for growing in length especially, you know, the apical meristem is very much important. Okay, so that is about apical meristem. Now coming to the next meristematic tissue, lateral meristem. So what do you mean by lateral meristem? Increase in girth. Okay, so increase in the size of the stem. Stem must become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? For that, what kind of tissue you will have in a stem? So this is the tissue that is present inside the stem, that is lateral meristem. Okay, so you must have seen the lines. If you cut the big log of wood, no, you will see the rounds, right? So rounds of circles, and you know, that is what we actually mean by lateral meristem. That is what we mean by growth in girth. Okay, so more prominent lines, the bigger circle you have, the bigger the stem must have grown in girth. Okay, so that's what we mean by lateral meristem. Now intercalary meristem. So intercalary meristem is required for regrowth after cutting. Say if you have lawns, you must have observed, you know, we keep cutting the grass that is present on a lawn. The moment you have cut the lawn, no, the growth, you know, again the regrowth starts. It doesn't mean that once you have cut, the growth has stopped. No. So the grass would grow furthermore, isn't it? So that is because of the presence of intercalary meristematic tissue. So where is it present? It is present at the areas called nodes. So we have something called nodes and internodes here, guys. Okay, so let me show that in the textbook for you. See here, can you see this point? Okay, so from this point a new branch has started growing. You know, that point is called as a node. Okay, so a node is a point. See, here is the definition. The node is a point on a plant stem where branches or leaves arises, isn't it? So even if you look at the small branch, the point from where the leaves are arising, no, that is also called as a node. Okay, so there are so many nodes on the stem. So at every node a new branch comes or a new leaf starts. Okay, so those points are called nodes. And the gap between the two nodes, see, this is one node and this is another node, isn't it? Say from this point the leaf has emerged, from this point one branch has emerged, and this gap, the gap between one node and another node, is called internode. So what is an internode? A part of stem between the two nodes. Okay, the gap between the two nodes is called internode, isn't it? So the new stem growth can start at a node, or a new stem growth can start at the base of the node. Just the reason above the node or below the node also a new branch can get started. Okay, so that is where your intercalary meristematic tissue is existed. Okay, so very important. So intercalary meristematic tissue exists at the regions of nodes. Okay, right? So hope you understood the three different types of meristematic tissue: apical meristem, lateral meristem, and intercalary meristem. Their locations and their functions is very important. Once you can close your eyes and summarize where are these meristematic tissues are present, three types, and what do they do? Summarize and comment in the comment section. Okay, I would love to read out your comments, and the next video I will mention your name also. Okay, those who have commented in a beautiful way, those who have summarized the points in a beautiful way, I'll read out those fellows' names, and I'll appreciate you for that, especially in the next part of the video. So let me check it out who is commenting below. Okay, yes. So that's all about the meristematic tissue. So now this meristematic tissue itself can get converted into permanent tissue. Okay, see, you need not have growth all over the lifetime, isn't it? Right? Shoot will grow up to a certain limit and after that it will stop. Roots would grow up to a certain limit and after that slowly it might stop. I mean, might not stop, but the growth might have become very, very slow. Okay, and now that meristematic tissue, when growth is no more required at a particular path, okay, it can be in girth, it can be in height, when no more growth is required, that meristematic cells are there, no, those meristematic cells stops dividing. Okay, they stop dividing and those cells itself will change their shape. Okay, they will change their shape, they will change their size and they will get specialized into a special tissue called permanent tissue. So how is permanent tissue is getting arised? How is it getting formed? It is somehow is getting formed from meristematic tissue itself. Okay, when growth is no longer required to a certain extent, the same meristematic cells will stop dividing and they will get specialized to different kinds of permanent tissue. Each and every permanent tissue is now specialized to do different works in a plant body. Okay, so that is what we actually call it as differentiation. What do you mean by differentiation of cells? So the cells would become specialized into a particular work, specialized to do a particular work. That is what we mean by differentiation. Okay, so differentiation takes place to form a permanent tissues. So now let us slowly understand what are the different permanent tissues. I have already shown you the flow chart here, right? So let me go back to the flow chart once again. So this section is over. So now coming to this section, permanent tissues are majorly of three types. Protective tissue I will discuss at the end. Second one is simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. And this simple permanent tissue is again are of three types: parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. So let us understand what does this simple permanent tissue do, what are the three different types, what works they do, where are they present, all of that we will discuss now. Are you guys ready with your book and pen? If you are ready, type R in the chat section in the comment box. Okay, one more important point that you all need to know about this simple permanent tissue is it is also called as supportive tissue. Okay, so how and why does a plant stand tall and upright? Right, say it will stand tall. So what is making a branch or a stem to stand tall? It's actually something must have been there inside a plant body which is giving that support, right? So it is this tissue which is there inside a plant body which is giving a support to stand upright. Okay, and also you must have observed the soft branches and the soft twigs. You can bend it and you can rotate it over the stick and all of that. You must have seen the tendrils, isn't it? So they are very, very flexible. So how is that it is getting twisted? That is also because of this kind of tissue that is there inside the twigs, that is simple permanent. And the dry twigs will break very soon, isn't it? But the lively twigs which has got a living cells in it is very, very flexible to bend. So all of that is because of this supportive tissue that is present, that is simple permanent tissue. Okay, so let us discuss about each and every variety one by one, right? Okay, so now look at here. So parenchyma, let us understand where exactly the parenchyma can be present. Okay, so it is present all over the plant body. Okay, especially you will observe this parenchyma majorly in leaves. Okay, so it is these cells which involve in photosynthesis. Okay, so they are present in green leaves where these parenchyma cells involve in the process called photosynthesis. Okay, right? So and this parenchyma cells have got a very thin walls. Okay, and also there are spaces. You will observe the spaces between the cells. So there can be lot of gaps between the cells. Okay, so that is one of the nature of parenchyma tissue. So those spaces are called intercellular spaces. See here, this is one parenchyma cell, this is another cell, this is another cell, this is another cell. You can see there are spaces, right? So these spaces are called intercellular spaces. Inter means in between. Okay, spaces which are present in between the cells. And you know what, you must have seen certain leaves floating freely on the water, okay, like lotus leaves and all. So why is this floating freely on a water? Is also because of too many spaces and air getting filled onto those spaces. Okay, so this is also because of the parenchyma tissue. So parenchyma tissue is making the leaves to float on a water, okay, especially the aquatic plants. So all of this is because of this tissue only. So, and another very important point is parenchyma cells can store the food. Okay, so food is synthesized by the cells and also food is stored inside the cells. Okay, food synthesis, food storage, support and floating character, all of this is because of the parenchyma tissue, guys. Okay, so now let me read out the features of parenchyma. So the wall thickness, so the wall, the cell wall is very thin here. Okay, cell membrane is also very thin here, and these are living cells. And special function that you need to remember is storage and packing also. Say packing is very much necessary. So you know what do you mean by packing? Just imagine this example, guys. Say you are shifting your houses, okay, so you are packing all the materials into a box, cardboard box, say especially the glassware or the very sensitive items or materials, you want to pack it in a cardboard box. Okay, say now what do? You will pack all the glassware items, but for safer side you will fill the box with thermocol balls, isn't it, right? So why do you fill the boxes with thermocol balls when you pack the glassware and delicate items? It is because of the safety thing. So the same thing here, this parenchyma tissue will act like a packing aspect. Okay, so it is a packing tissue. So wherever filling is required inside a plant tissues, in between a plant tissues or in between the plant parts, wherever filling is required, this parenchyma will take care of it. Okay, right? So it is also a packing tissue, we can say. Okay, so next is your collenchyma. So what is collenchyma? So these are also living cells only. Okay, but you will have unevenly thickened corners. Okay, so look at the corners of this cell, guys. So this is one particular cell. Okay, and if you look at the corners, right, so they are thick because of a chemical called pectin. Okay, so if I have to see, collenchyma is majorly present in this kind of twigs, which are famously called as tendrils. What do we call them as? Tendrils. Okay, so the tendril has to be so much flexible to get turned around a support or a thread or whatever it is. Okay, so to make it flexible, you will have some chemical called pectin. Okay, so pectin. So this pectin is a chemical that helps for the flexibility, right? So that is why the corners, so these corners are very thick, because the chemical called pectin is filled into it. So there is a pectin chemical. Okay, so that got filled at the corners, that is why the corners are thickened. And what is the use of this pectin? It will give you flexibility. Okay, for the twig or stem, wherever it is present. So majorly it gives that flexibility. Okay, so that is about the collenchyma. Now coming to the sclerenchyma, okay, which is also very important, and this is a dead tissue. Okay, so it's a group of dead cells, I can say, and the corners are very, very thick. Okay, because of the chemical called lignin. Okay, so remember the name of the chemical which is present at the walls of sclerenchyma cells, that is lignin. Lignin is a very hard substance and it gives a protection. Okay, so what is the major purpose of sclerenchyma? So these cells will give protection. Okay, you can see the shell of a walnut, okay, and the coconut shell. So all of that is made up of cells called sclerenchyma cells. Okay, so now if I have to show you the difference between parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. So we have already listed the differences, and collenchyma, the unevenly thickened corners you will find, and that is thick because of the chemical pectin. What does the pectin do? It gives flexibility for a twig or a stem. Okay, and these are living cells. So why is it helpful? It is helpful for bending and flexibility. Now coming to the sclerenchyma, they have very, very thick walls, and this is made up of chemical called lignin, which is very, very hard substance, and these cells are dead cells. And what is the use of sclerenchyma? It gives strength, it gives protection, it gives that rigidity to the plant part. Okay, so the best example is coconut husk, walnut shell and all of that. Okay, so that is all about simple permanent tissue, guys. So now we will talk about complex permanent tissues. Can you name what are the two types of complex permanent tissues? Let me know in the comment section. Okay, so hope you are answering. Pause the video. Okay, I have shown you the flow chart also. They are very, very important. Two complex permanent tissues are there. Okay, hope you mentioned their names. Yes, very good. Very good for the people who have mentioned the name of complex permanent tissues. Yes, they are xylem and phloem. Okay, so complex tissues. So there are two complex tissues. One is called as a xylem. The other one is called as phloem. Write the spelling of the phloem properly, correctly. Don't make any mistake. Okay, fine. So what does the xylem do? What does the phloem do? Okay, so this is what you need to understand first. So both are called as conducting tissues. Conducting means what? Carrying materials from one place to another place. Simple permanent tissue, parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma were called as supportive tissues. Okay, packing tissue in other words. But this complex tissues are called conducting tissue. So they carry water from one place to another place. They carry food from one place to another place. Coming to the transport of water. Yes, so where the water present? Under the ground. Okay, so which part of the plant takes up the water? Roots. So water have to travel from root to all over the plant body. Water is required for every cell of plant, isn't it? So the water is taken up by the roots which are there under the ground. So water have to move from root to all over the plant body, and that movement will happen through a special tissue called xylem. Okay, right? So just say this word 2 times in your mind. Xylem is water conducting tissue. Water conducting tissue. It carries water from root to all over the plant body, to leaves, to shoot, to branches and everywhere. Okay. Yes, so transports water and minerals. Minerals also very important. What do you mean by minerals? Minerals like potassium, sodium, phosphorus. So these minerals, these elements are very much required for the growth of a plant. Okay, so they are also carried with water only. That is also through xylem tissue. Fine. And now flow direction. So how does the movement takes place? Movement is unidirectional. Uni means one. Okay, so the flow, water flow will always happen in one direction only. So what is the direction of water flow? Always from root to shoot. Always upward direction. Roots are there towards the ground, isn't it? So from ground from roots the water always flow upwards. So only in one direction the water and minerals are going. That's the reason we call this as unidirectional movement. Okay, yes. So now xylem tissue, look at here, there are so many structures, right? So the bunch of cells together is called tissue, and each and every cell is different here. Okay, so there are the xylem is made up of 4 types of cells, guys. Okay, so your xylem tissue is there, no? This is very, very important. So your xylem tissue has got 4 types of cells. Okay, these 4 types of cells stay together, and that team, that group itself is called as xylem. Okay, so what are the 4 type of cells? We call them as tracheids. Tracheids is one type. Vessels is another type of cells. Then xylem fibers. Xylem fibers. Okay, and the 4th one is xylem parenchyma. Xylem parenchyma. Okay, out of the 4 types of xylem cells, xylem parenchyma is the only living cells. Okay, right, which stores the food, right, and which gives support to rest all of the cells. And tracheids and vessels and xylem fibers are actually dead cells. They are not living. Okay, so they are dead cells. And tracheids and vessels are the tubes. So these are those longest tubes. Okay, longest tubes in different shapes. So this is how tracheids are present, and this is how the vessels look like. Okay, so these tubes carry, so these are the ones which carry water and minerals. These are the ones which carry water and minerals. Okay, now what is the function of xylem fibers? It just gives strength and support to the entire xylem tissue. So the work of xylem fibers is to give strength and support to these tubes. Okay, so these are the 2 different shaped tubes which carry water and mineral. And what does the xylem parenchyma do? It is the only living cell which it must keep everything alive, isn't it? So that is the work of xylem parenchyma, right? So all the 4 cells together will form as a bundle. Okay, they run from root to shoot. Okay, so if I show you the next picture here. Okay, so yes, look at here. Okay, so see here, this brown color things are there, no, all over the branch from bottom to up. So these are like xylem tissue, guys. Okay, so hope you understood everything about xylem here. Now coming to the phloem. So phloem is a food conducting tissue. Okay, so this is the conducting tissue through which food will get transported from leaves to all parts of the plant body. So the direction is bidirectional. Bi means 2. Okay, food has to move towards the root, food has to move towards the shoot, branches, everywhere. So that's why the direction of food is in all directions. Like it can go up and it has to go down. That's the reason we call that as bidirectional movement. Okay, and now what are the components of phloem? What I said, xylem has got 4 different cells. These 4 different cells itself are called as components. Okay, likewise phloem also has got 4 different types of cells. Okay, so it has got sieve tubes, very important. Okay, so next one is companion cells. And third one, phloem fibers, and the last one is phloem parenchyma. Okay, so these 4 cells together will form as a group and will they would conduct food to all parts of the plant body. So the sieve tubes are the one through which actually food moves. Okay, so for the movement of food, the companion cell will help. Okay, so they help in transferring. So they help in transferring food, very important, from leaves to sieve tubes. Okay, so where is food present? Leaves. Yes or no? So food is formed due to photosynthesis. Now food is there inside a leaf cell. So now somebody must be there to bring the food from leaf cell and then put it into a tubes which run parallel and all over the plant body. Okay, so which one will help for that process? Companion cells will help for that process. Now what does the phloem fibers do? Phloem fibers give that support for the entire tissue to stay together. Okay, and what does the phloem parenchyma do? It takes care of the well-being of all these cells. Okay, so this is living, this is also living cell, companion cells are living, sieve tubes are living, phloem parenchyma is living, but phloem fibers are non-living cells. Okay, so this is about the components of phloem, guys. So now let us summarize the difference between phloem and xylem. Okay, see here, xylem transports water and minerals. It provides strength to the plant body. Okay, components are tracheids, vessels, parenchyma and fibers. Tracheids and vessels are tubes and they are thick walled. Tracheids and vessels and xylem fibers are majorly sclerenchymatous. What do you mean by sclerenchymatous? It means dead. Okay, tracheids are dead cells, vessels are dead cells, and fibers are also dead cells. Okay, now coming to the phloem, mostly made up of living cells. Okay, only phloem fibers are dead here, and then transport of food takes place from leaves to all parts of the plant body through this phloem. And what are the components here? Sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. Then sieve tubes are long tubular cells joined end to end by perforated walls. See, these are the tubes. Okay, so you will have holes. So this is one sieve tube, this is another sieve tube, this is another sieve tube, but look at here, holes are there at the end. These are called perforations. Holes are called as perforations. Okay, so perforations. So why perforations? Because the substances have to move from one sieve tube to another sieve tube, no? So it will only move through these holes. Okay, and then phloem parenchyma stores food materials and phloem fibers provide support and strength. Okay, so these are the differences between xylem and phloem. So look at here, xylem vessels, and these are tracheids, and this is a fiber, and this is a xylem parenchyma. And here these are sieve tubes, and this is a companion cell. Okay, this is a companion cell, and these are fibers, and this is a xylem parenchyma. Okay, so all four kinds of cells stay together, all four components stay together and helps in movement of water, that is xylem. Here also all four components stay together, helps in the movement of food, and that is called phloem. Okay, so that is all about complex permanent tissue. So now we have the third type of permanent tissue called protective tissue. Simple permanent tissue, supportive tissue, parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. Complex permanent tissue is conducting tissue, transports different things, phloem, xylem. Now the third type is protective tissue, which is nothing but epidermis. So we want a covering, okay, for every plant body which has to protect from harsh environment outside, isn't it? So that work is actually done by the protective tissue called epidermis. Okay, so outer shield, it is a protective tissue, right? So it protects all parts of the plant body from the environment. Okay, so the top layer, say this is a part of a leaf that I have shown you here. So this top layer is soft, isn't it? And it can have fine hair also, isn't it? So just pluck a leaf and you observe, you touch the leaf surface, it is so soft, waxy, and small hairs would be there. So that layer has got so many cells. Okay, so that group of cells and that layer is called as epidermis. Okay, so epidermis is tightly packed, single layer, protects all plant parts. Okay, so this is what we call it as, epidermis. Okay, and on top of the epidermis you have waxy coating which looks very soft, and that is called as cuticle. So cuticle is waxy outer layer preventing water loss and mechanical injury. Okay, so too much of water loss should not happen from leaves, so cuticle will prevent that water loss and it gives support. Okay, it helps plant body from dangers. Okay, right? So that is cuticle. Now in the epidermis, in case of leaves, epidermis is present in all over the plant parts. Okay, especially in the leaves. See, this is the lower epidermis. In the lower epidermis, okay, so this whole thing is epidermis. See, you can see the epidermal cells. So these are epidermal cells here. So in this epidermis, in between you have kidney shaped cells and there is an opening. Okay, actually through these openings only entry of oxygen, elimination of carbon dioxide would be taking place, and these special cells are called as stomata. So where is stomata present? Stomata is present in epidermis. So this entire layer, thick layer, is epidermal layer. Top of epidermis has got waxy coating, cuticle. In between the epidermal cells there are special pores, special openings through which oxygen entry, carbon dioxide elimination takes place, and that is called as stomata. Okay, so together stomata, cuticle, epidermis, all of that is a protective tissue. So this is another type of permanent tissue only. Okay, yes. So next is plant tissue systems. So just like we have organ systems, no? So digestive system in humans. What does the organs that come under digestive system? Stomach will come, esophagus will come, mouth would come, okay, small intestine, large intestine, all these organs perform the process called digestion, and that system, that collection of different organs, we called it as digestive system. Like that, in plant also we have something like tissue systems. Okay, each and every tissue system will perform a particular work. What are the three major tissue systems we have? Okay, so we have dermal tissue system. Dermal tissue system is outer covering of the plant. It protects the inner plants and it reduces the water loss. Okay, so leaf epidermis, stem epidermis, root epidermis. So this epidermis tissue come under the dermal tissue system. Okay, so next is ground tissue system, forms the main body of the plant, located between the dermis. Okay, see all your parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, what I told you, they are the cells of packaging, they give support. Okay, so they are like filling tissue, so they are the fillers. Okay, say when you want to pack the glass items in a box, you add lot of thermocol balls as a fillers, right? So they are fillers. So just like fillers, these parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma behave, right? So this is what we call it as ground tissue system. And the third one is vascular tissue system. So vascular tissue system will do conducting work. So it transports materials from one place to another place, where xylem and phloem will come under vascular tissue system. Okay, so protective tissue, different types of protective tissue. Okay, the epidermis of leaf looks different. Leaf will have stomata, whereas the root epidermis might not have stomata, isn't it? So it can be epidermis of leaf, epidermis of stem, epidermis of root. So depending on the location, epidermis behave differently, structured differently, shaped differently, but all of this it can be in leaf, stem or root. All of this will do the same work, that is protection. Okay, so that is about the dermal tissue system. Now ground tissue system, all the three cells form a supportive tissue and packing, they can be helpful in packaging, right? But they are present in different places, they do different works individually. All of those tissues can be called as ground tissue system. Then conducting tissues like xylem and phloem is called as vascular tissue system. Okay, so these are the three tissue systems that you will observe in plant body. Okay, so that's all about the chapter. And this is like when you cut a particular part. Okay, suppose there is some sunflower plant or something. Say I will cut this part and I will observe this section. TS in the sense transverse section. So this section I am cutting from blade and I am observing under microscope. This is how it looks. See, look at here. This is the outermost layer. This is the epidermis. Okay, stem epidermis, because I have cut the stem, no? So the outermost covering, that is epidermis. So this is dermal system. So this part is a dermal system. And now look at these rounds, right? This is what xylem and phloem, guys. Combination of xylem and phloem appeared something like this. Okay, so they run all over the plant body, and this is vascular system. Okay, sorry, this is vascular system, and this is dermis and this is vascular. In between, the entire space is filled with so many cells, and that is the supportive system, that is the supportive cells and packaging cells, isn't it? So that itself we call it as ground system. Okay, so ground system is packaging and filling the different aspects, it is connecting all of this. And vascular system is appearing something like this in between, and outermost covering, outermost special cells, a layer of thick cells is what is your epidermis, that is protective tissue, which can be called as a dermal system. Okay, so that's all about the plant tissues. Hope you understood, hope you enjoyed. If you have enjoyed, if the concepts are crystal clear, type crystal clear in the chat section. And in the next part, I will meet you with animal tissues, and share these videos to all of your friends, to all of your classmates. Okay, so see you soon in the next video then.